Hey guys, what's up? It's Kit. Time for another video. Today we're going ultralight fishing and I'm gonna show you from start to finish what I do. Alright, so very first thing is let's talk about the rod and the reel. But this is kind of different from your traditional ultralight rods and reels. This is a Japanese style ultralight rod specifically made for a fish called aji, which is a type of scat. We have a power geared or slow speed reel. This is as slow as you can get them, and the rod is a Varivas Violente. You can't find this anymore, unfortunately. It has a lure rating of 0.8 to 8 grams, line from 2 to 8 pounds, or PE 0.3 to 0.6, and it has a length of 8'6". It's my rod to use with very light jigs. So from jig heads that weigh less than a gram all the way to about 3 grams. Anything heavier than 3 grams, I use this, and this rod you could still get. This is called a Dialuna XR, and it has a lure weight of 2 to 15 grams, 8'6", rated for PE 3 to PE 1, so it's a bit heavier, or 3 to 10 pounds. The reel is a Stella 1000, and that's that. All right, so pretty straightforward for these two. I use this for jigs of 3 to about 7 grams. I max out at 5 grams most of the time. Okay, so that's something that I just put a limit on myself and not necessarily the limit on the rod. I have an assortment of jig heads. This is just one box, but I have everything here from really tiny weights all the way up to about 10 grams. I don't really use a lot that go over 5 grams, but just in case they're there. So there's different head shapes, different sizes of weights and hooks, and that's something very important. I also have a box of soft plastics, and this is pretty much what I'll be concentrating on today. So there's different shapes, they're tiny, quite different from the American counterparts these. Okay, so you have a mix of everything from Eco Gear to Major Craft and all other brands here. Even Daiso, this one's from Daiso. Okay, so these ones are from Daiso. Doesn't have to be expensive, just as long as it works. Okay, now in my bigger one here, this is where I store most of what I regularly use from Storm, which are these. I'm not too sure if these are still sold, but I have worms here. Okay, like literal worms that simulate sandworms, and we have different types that simulate shrimp and other crustacea, even ones that are actually shaped like shrimp. Okay, where this one's shaped like a crayfish. Okay, some specialized jig heads, of course, and blade bait, just in case I need it. I made these jigs, jig heads. These are wiggle jigs, so when you retrieve them, they'll start to wiggle. Also good, but kind of specialized thing. Mostly use it off of a kayak. Okay, so other assortment of jig heads that I have here. Okay, so as you can see, there's some heavier stuff there. with heavier hooks. And I have these flutter jig heads that are very small. As you can see, this has a number 8 and a number 4 hook. Quite specialized, but when there are rocks and some weeds, I use them. And a box of ultralight lures. Okay, nothing special there. We have vibrating lures, small crankbait, small popper, just so you know. There's even an ultralight tie rubber that's here. So just an assortment. Not gonna be, I don't see myself using these. Also an ultralight crankbait right there, but I don't really see myself using these today, as I will be concentrating on soft plastics. Now, as far as leaders are concerned, I have 10, I have 2.5 pound, okay, you can see there, and the heaviest that I have is also 6. The heaviest that I have is 10, but I don't really use that. I usually max out at 6 for this type of work, and I rely mostly on this one right here, 2.75. Now, I want to show you the knot I use. The reason why I have the 10 is so that I can show you guys how I actually put a leader on. Okay, so I have a leader on this reel, but I'm gonna take it off and I'm gonna show you guys how I tie my leader. Now, this one's a bit too short already, so what I'm gonna do is cut it off and then tie on a new one. I really hope this is visible in the camera, but I'll show you the knot that I use, and it's quite simple. Okay, so make sure you discard your line properly. Actually, this is a bit long, but it's kind of too thick. I last used this reel on a boat, so I had to put on a heavier leader. But what we will do is actually, I'm gonna tie this twice, once off camera and one off camera. But when I'm done with this, I'm gonna be using this line. All right, so actually try and use this fluorocarbon. All right, so we're gonna tie 6 pound test leader, okay, on the Stella. And I usually have a really long leader, so take note of that. What I want to do is actually take the space between the leader and the braid quite far. Okay, so you need to cut your leader first, so I'm gonna take a really long length. In my case, it'll be about 2 arm spans. Well, actually I'll make that 3. Okay, I'm gonna show you the knot I'm using, and it's nothing special. Okay, it's a surgeon's knot, or a double surgeon's knot, but I pass the line through 4 times. And how to do this is you just wrap and make a loop like so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now I'm gonna take that. This is the braid right here, okay, and this is the loop of mono. And then all we have to do is just pull the long end out until you've passed it through the loop, like so. Okay, then wrap your fingers like so, and then pull together. This is very important. Okay, don't tighten yet. We have to lubricate so it doesn't break. This knot works very well for this, and I hardly use an FG. Okay, so there we go. As you can see, it's very small, and then from there you just tighten like so, and you have a nice solid knot and a very low profile knot as well, as you can see there. Okay, then just cut off the tags. Make sure you're cutting the right end. Okay, and then cut the braid off like so. This is very good for people with failing eyesight like myself, actually. I've been using this knot for years and it's been working really well. Okay, so that's it. All we have to do is just string up the rod, and then let's start fishing. So I'm gonna string this rod up off camera, and then when I come back, I'm gonna show you my lure selection and what I will use with this heavier rod. With this lighter rod, I already have a 2-gram jig head on, or sorry, 1.5 actually. It's 1.5 grams. I've put a paddle tail on here, there, and the knot I use is a uni knot with a loop. Okay, and I'm gonna be showing you how to tie this knot after I string the rod up. A very good accessory to have is to have one of these lure holders. I think this one's from I forget, it's like Owner, or no, it's not Owner, it's some other brand, but any type. If your rod doesn't have it, it's a very good idea to have this, especially for these small things, because as soon as they penetrate or hang onto your skin, they just penetrate because they're so thin. This is the knot I use. Okay, right there. It is just a uni knot with a loop. So I take that like so, form the loop, pass it at least 4 times, tighten, and then lubricate. Slide it down, and just before it reaches that, we tighten, snug it up a bit so that the loop isn't too big, like so, and then fully tighten the knot. And then you cut the tag. I leave a little bit just in case it slips, and then you put on the worm. Now this is very important. Okay, we just put it as straight as we can, like so. There we go. It's easy as that. This is ready to fish. This is a slightly heavier jig head. This is, I think, 2.5 grams, and we're ready to fish. Alright, I'm gonna show you how to work the jig head. It's pretty straightforward. All you have to do is just cast out as far as you can, and then work it as painfully slow as possible. And what you want to do is actually get your jig to drop down to the bottom. And then all you have to do is either have your rod tip pointed down to the water and move it like so, and you can feel the hits. You can feel the bottom. Move it very slow. This is the whole reason why my reel is actually a power gear, because I'm moving it slow, and I know that even if I crank down on the reel, it's actually retrieving line slow. You could also fish your rod tip up, but since it doesn't drag the lure on the bottom, I like it, makes it kind of up. So for me, I like pointing my rod tip down so that it follows the contour of the bottom. Whoa, be careful of that. Now, because you're fishing near the bottom, more than likely it'll get some weed, so very important to clean that off. All right, so let's move to a spot where we could actually catch some fish. Before we go, this is Momoi Oshikage. It is a Japanese PE line, and it's way thinner than its US counterparts. So if you're doing this type or planning to do this type of fishing, it's probably a good idea to invest in this line. You could get it on Amazon or you could get it in online retailers. Not cheap. Momoi Oshikage. That's the line. You could go to Momoi Fishing Lines, Japan, in their website, and you could actually find the information for this line. This is PE.3, so it's practically the thinnest line that I have found. Not cheap, okay, but it's well worth the money. It's very thin and helps you detect strikes that you normally don't detect, and helps you cast far and deal with currents as well. This is actually number 2. The first one I caught, I don't know if I have it filmed or not, but practically an instabite. This is a gold lined sea bream, and they're very good to eat. Something actually worth mentioning. There are a lot of small fish, really small fish, that would go after this. So while you're reeling slowly, you'll feel a lot of taps. Just wait until something big actually hammers it. Just keep on reeling. And that's something very important that a lot of people miss out on, because in the smallest taps, they set the hook and there were small fish. So as it moves through the bottom, there'll be a lot of smaller fish tapping on it until a big one comes and just inhales it. You'll know the difference. Just let it move as slowly as possible, and when a big one comes, it's just gonna inhale it. And that's a very important thing. All right, so that's it for now. Hope you learned something. If you haven't yet, please like, subscribe, and share. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. This heat is killer.